Here we are once again at Daytona to find out definitively who is the fastest car at the Daytona 24 Hours. We have managed to collect every single race winner from 1966 all the way up until 2024. Put them against each other to find out who is really the winner of the Daytona 24 Hours. We're in last year's race winning car, the 963 Porsche, and we shall try and make our way through the pack with such an eclectic mix of prototypes and GT cars as we're sandwiched between the BMW CSL and the iconic Suncode livery Penske Lola T70. And of course up ahead you've got the iconic Brumos Porsches, who won the double in, that would have been 73 and 75, and of course the 917s also scored the double in 70 and 71, which would have been with Pedro Rodriguez. So we'll make our way onto the banking, past number 911, I'm not sure what year that one won, but we shall make our way through. And so Daytona has had many iconic races, as well as also many iterations of the circuit itself. Even for this year, the bus stop / Le Mans chicane has been completely paved over, so as you saw there's grass for when you make a mistake. It is a mistake and you are somewhat self-punished for it, but now it is all tarmacked over, so it kind of loses. All racetracks always lose a little bit of something, don't they, when they just get tarmacked runoffs. Now as you get very close to would that have been the Moby Dick? And I'm suddenly pointing at my knees. I think there's been an update to the CPS for Assetto Corsa and have not adjusted the AR tracking for when I brake, because I tend to not be able to see anything for the start of the corner, but we'll carry on nonetheless. Yes, and saying we're in Porsche and being constantly surrounded by Porsches, you'd probably not be surprised that they've won 23 of the Daytona 24 Hours, and that is the most by far. I mean, in second place Ford have 6 wins, Ferrari have 5, and Cadillac have 4. If you think recently Ford haven't really been in it for at least 10 years, and Ferrari even longer than that. So yeah, so Porsche always have the endurance racing down to art, and you could arguably say that their cars are also. So we'll make our way across the start finish line once again, and we've got again a fellow Porsche. What a surprise! I think there's going to be a very common theme. But yes, the track layout, as I was touching upon earlier, as we go off at the chicane and through the International Horseshoe. If you saw my last video, if you'd like to go watch that after this one, that'd be great, because that is the race about Enzo's Revenge in 1967, where as much as you probably wouldn't think a layout of an oval with an infield would change much, you try and get past the Nissan 300 there. Again, another Porsche. It does change quite a lot. I mean, obviously the banking gets updated every so often, but the infield from turn 1 and turn 2, as we nearly get sandwiched by the Viper, where the GT cars had a run of wins to the mid-noughties as the prototypes are still trying to find their feet after the collapse of Group C and GTP. yes, turn 1 and 2, there is no chicane. It's just a straight run to what was the International Horseshoe, but it was much further on. They've shortened it in recent years. As you go through the the International Horseshoe, you go through the dogleg, which is still there, and I always find what is now the Western Horseshoe, it always seems tighter than you think it is. It's always deceivingly sort of open. Just try and go down the inside of one of the Jags, at least. I think that would have been 88 and 90, wasn't it? And up ahead, I think that's the Eagles. We're slightly wide. The sun is setting, and that is since this new CPS update for Content Manager and the weather. It is a massive improvement, and that's definitely a Florida sunset if you've ever seen one. We'll go past the Corvette there. Those are very quick cars. It's unbelievable how quick those GT cars were. Pretty much unrestricted. And one of my favourites up ahead is the Ferrari 333 SP. It's such a great sounding car, and just a sort of pinnacle of late 90s prototypes. Absolutely love it, especially in the Momo livery. Excellent sound. So the track has gone through many iterations, not least of which obviously we've touched on the bus stop, which I don't think turned up till 84, and it was quite a long, it was proper, rather than like the sort of smooth sweeping chicane it is today. It was a proper, anchors on, sort of almost 90 left, 90 right through, and probably double the length off the circuit and then back on again, and they did sort of revise it so it was a smoother exit at least, just to sort of not only slow 84 would have been sort of Group C time, it would have slowed them down, but also to aid overtaking, which to be fair, I don't think Daytona needs help with overtaking. I mean, the banking's so large, and actually the infield does do quite a lot. But I think that's why this makes this race so iconic. It's sort of, if you try this at any other oval, do you think it would work? I'm not sure it would, because it is so obscenely large, and the cars get so fast along the banking, and also perhaps it's the banking as well, because it's such a extreme angle in which you're racing around the circuit, and then to have quite a sort of technical infield, you don't get anywhere else. And I think also being set in Florida also helps, because obviously you've got Sebring as we lock up the rears, weirdly enough. We'll see if we can crack on and try and catch up. Who have we got up ahead there? Is that one of the Daytona prototypes? I think that's sort of when I started watching it, so that would have been sort of mid-teens, wouldn't it? Sort of Ford and Corvette Daytona prototypes. But yes, as I was saying earlier, the iconic races that have been hosted here, I mean, it's gone through many iterations of organisers. So to start with, it was the International Championship for GT manufacturers, which would have been the FIA as part of that series, which obviously Ford famously won it in '66 as the first 24-hour race. I think there were a couple of other races beforehand, but they weren't 24 hours. I think it was 2,000 kilometre, which is sort of more Sebring length, I think, rather than Le Mans. But yeah, but the first 3 races were all won by one manufacturer on the podium. So Ford got a 1-2-3 finish on the podium. Then in 67, Ferrari got their revenge and got a 1-2-3 podium. And after they changed the rules for big engines prototypes, then Porsche got their 1-2-3 podium in 1968. So yeah, there's a lot of change quite early on anyway. And then of course then we've already seen the Sunco Racing Penske Lola T70 won it in 69, and then in 70 that's when the big boys came out. That was the 917s who dominated endurance racing for a couple of years, which only lasted until 71. and 72 then the FIA changed the rules because they wanted to concentrate more on GT production cars. So the prototypes went from 5 litres to 3 litres, and I think it was supposed to be a 24-hour race, but the FIA turned up and went, well actually we're not entirely sure those 3-litre engines are going to last 24 hours and that's going to look quite embarrassing. So they shortened it to 6 hours. I'm not sure if it was like preempted and they said that it's going to be a 6-hour race, or they actually shortened it on the day, or around the weekend. Then after 72 and 73 it returned to 24-hour race briefly, which is when the Brumos Porsche got their first win, which you've seen those cars go around. And then in 1974 there was no race due to the energy crisis, but also doing some research at sort of some news articles about the race, there wasn't a lot of interest, weirdly enough, during the actual time period, especially in, I think it was 69, it was reported that no one really turned up, no one was interested, nor fans or competitors. Again, it could have just been the build-up to the energy crisis, and also the FIA kept changing the rules. So after 74, the race came back as a 24-hour race in 75, and there's been 24-hour race since then. But also that was the first time that the IMSA organisation took control of running the event, still alongside the FIA. And then in 76 it was just solely run by IMSA, which for their first solo race didn't go too well. You had the BMW CSL that I think it was 17 lap lead, sort of 15 hours in, and then suddenly it ran into some problems and eventually stalled just at the end of pit lane. And while they're trying to diagnose what went wrong, 9 out of the 10 front runners also all came to a halt and all had problems. And it turned out that the fuel truck that they were using was contaminated with water, so there's water in everyone's fuel tanks and engines. So they eventually red flagged the race when they found out, and I think they let everyone drain their, obviously, tanks, empty their fuel lines and engines, and usually you wouldn't be able to touch a car during red flag, but I think they sort of, because there was a mistake outside of anyone's control, they sort of just let everyone, like, okay, yeah, just a hard reset, 15 hours in. But I think eventually that BMW did go on to win anyway. So yeah, it's not the best start to IMSA running things, but I mean, who could have foreseen that, really? Let's be honest. And then yes, and then in '77 would have been the start of Porsche's 11 streak race win, because in '78 they allowed they sort of relaxed the rules a bit, which meant that the 935s were allowed to race, and they were just explosive. They were so dominant, especially around Daytona. They were pretty much untouchable. So you get stuck behind the Lola once again, but also one of the Riley and Scott Mark IIIs. I love those prototypes. They sound so good, and they're such a, I don't know, something about them. Quite a simplistic design. They also look quite American for some reason. I don't know why. It's just, but proper V8. Very simplistic aero body style. Also still looks good as well. Right, it's got almost similar to the 333 SP, I suppose. But they were very quick. Say for a privateer team up against the manufacturers, they held their own and held their own for a very long time. It was a very, very impressive run. Yes, I was saying Porsche had their 11-year streak of winning the race, and like I said, in '84 the bus stop was added, and they've changed the profile of turn 1s and 2 and brought the international horseshoe a bit closer, and then that was when also Group C started to, well, it wasn't Group C, it was GTP for IMSA. So that's when the 962s then were dominant for a couple of years, and then of course we on the Jaguar in '88 were pretty unstoppable, and it was a very close battle between Porsche, Jaguar, and then Nissan got their first win in '92 in the unicorn of a car, the R91, sorry. Absolutely beautiful car. In fact, there it is now. What a coincidence. Now, we managed to catch up, but look at it go. It is so fast in a straight line. I did have a little practice in that around here. Now you can hit about 210 down the back straight. It's absolutely insane. We should be better in the corners, although if we don't get held up by fellow Porsche teammate. So yeah, so Nissan got the first win, and then it was the Eagle Mark III '93, that famous Toyota engined GTP. And in '94, it was the first time was it a GT car, the Nissan 300ZX? Obviously not the first time, but in the long time it was a GT class that won it overall. And then it was sort of the run of the Riley and Scott, sort of the start of the L&P era of endurance racing. So many Riley and Scotts, obviously, and the Ferrari would have been their third one, wasn't it? The 33 SP in '98. Which also, that's when the US Road Racing Championship took over proceedings from IMSA, which would only last until 2000, so it was only 2 years of that organisation to take over as the Corvette. The Dodge is incredibly defensive. I always find those Dodges really defensive, regardless of what class of car you're in. Right, we're right on the back of him now, but he's just got the legs. He's just gonna go off into the distance, into the sunrise. This is what a proper battle is, though, isn't it? He's fast and straight, so I'm quick in the corner, so I should catch up. On the infield, down into turn 1. And turn 2 we go a little bit, he goes wide and we're all out of shape. Oh, we should have had them then, right. Through the complex. International Horseshoe. We've got a bit of traffic there with the 330 P4. Who's blocked him, so we're going to go for it, but he's blocked us and he's still around the outside, so we'll let him back through. Down to the Western Horseshoe. Can't quite get on the inside. He's really late on the brakes there. That was excellent. Right. Which is turn 7 and 8. And again, we get such a good run. Much better than the curves. I'm going to right down underneath the wing, but we can't do anything with it. I'm not sure how strong slipstream is in Assetto Corsa, but he is gone. We'll see if we can catch him again at the bus that we have to brake very, very late. We're braking, in fact, too late, and he went off slightly as well. Just a slight shortcut, but we've still managed to lose time after cutting the bus stop. Excellent. Right, well, we'll see if we can try and catch him again. Oh, no, is he? Oh, no, he's pitting. Oh, it's such a shame. That would have been such a good battle to the end. We only had a couple of laps left. Which means I only got a little bit of time left to go through the history as I go off at turn 1 and 2 again. So after the US Road Racing Championship, we're done with Daytona and then became the Rolex Sports Car Series. Which is when that string of wins for the GT class, which was the Dodge 5 won in 2000, the C5 Corvette won it in 2001, and then the 996 911 won it in 2003. But not before that, in 2002 was the that beautiful V10 Dallara SP1 Judd-powered car. Yeah, it sounded amazing. And then, obviously, the Rolex Sports Car Series, they wanted to have sort of cheap, fair, sort of one-make racing for prototypes. That's when they got the Riley Mark, was it 10s, 11s or 12s, whatever it is, XI, I don't know what that is, Roman numerals. But basically the standardised body shape, almost very, very similar to NASCAR, where they've got standard body and then you just put the decals of whatever manufacturer on it. But also then they had the engines running whatever manufacturer. You had Pontiac, you had Lexus, obviously had Porsche and BMW, Ford. So they had that for between, would have been 2005 until 2013, they had that running, which was just slightly before my time, because I joined in 2014, which was then the new Daytona prototype, which again, sort of similar vein, fairly basic aero, kind of looked identical to each other, but it was the, yeah, sort of Corvette versus Ford era, and then 2016 was the Ligier Tequila Patron, if I can get it out. That was iconic livery, and that was also when IMSA took it back over again in 2016, which is when they had then the DPIs, so that would have been Cadillacs, Mazda, so yeah, Cadillac had a run between 2018 and 2020, and then it was the Acuras in 21 and 22 and 23, and then of course 2024 was the first LMDH GTP Hypercar, what do you want to call it, the one we're in, and that wraps it up nicely as we come across the line in 3rd place overall. So we have defeated most cars, so let's just have a look to see who we've got up ahead. That's one of the Acuras. We weren't too far behind either. That's not bad actually. I'm quite happy with that. And then there should be another car. Oh, it's the other Acura. So you got the Acura, what was it, ARX05 and ARX06. So that would have been 2021 for the Wayne Taylor Racing. And then that would have been the 2023 Meyershank Racing in 2023. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed that. I do plan to do more for other major series. I think the next one will be the Bathurst 12 hour, which will be next week, and then shortly followed by Sebring, I imagine. Although, sticking with Daytona, it is obviously the Daytona 500 in a couple of weeks' time, so I think we'll try and do something for that as well. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.